Mr. Headmaster, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great pleasure and a privilege to be here this afternoon to talk to you about the important subject of electricity, nuclear power and nuclear waste. If I can remind you, electricity makes a vital contribution to our lives in all kinds of ways. In the home, in industry, in hospitals, and in many, many ways that we can't even list off and remember. But electricity is taken for granted. And to guarantee the electricity supply, we must have transmission lines, we must have power stations, and we must have nuclear power. And Mr. Public, at least Mr. Public in the United Kingdom says, you, that is the CEGB, must supply all the electricity I need. But with no pylons, in my view, no power stations near my home, and above all else, no nuclear waste in my backyard. Now, I understand the points about pylons and about power stations, but the fear of nuclear waste is special. It's very special. And let's consider it, because I do not think the public need fear that nuclear waste. And therefore, let us concentrate today on the simple topic, nuclear waste and NIMBY, the NIMBY syndrome. Not in my backyard. Not in my backyard. That is what this lecture is all about. And let us first examine what is in your backyard already. Of course, what the Americans call their backyard, the English call their garden. So let us look at an average English garden. The average English garden, about 1/10 of an acre, is very radioactive already. That is because radioactivity is all around us. It has been here 4,000 million years. It's been here ever since God created the earth. It's your radioactivity, not my radioactivity. You own it, not me. To be more precise, you don't actually own it, because not many of you are old enough yet to own your own house and garden. So to be precise, that radioactivity is your parents' radioactivity, which you will eventually inherit. It is, in effect, God's radioactive waste. It is the radioactive waste that he left lying around the world when he first made it. And since you've now bought your house, or at least your parents have, and they've bought the garden, and they own the house and the garden, or at least they own the mortgage, that waste is yours, not mine. It's nothing to do with me. It's just there. And we are not going to have any discussion whatever about radioactive materials and the nuclear waste that we make in the CEGB, unless we get a proper feeling and judgment about the radioactive material that is there in your garden already. Let me tell you how much there is. Just in the top meter of your garden. I've taken an average English garden, 1/10 of 1 acre, as quite a small garden. And I have just dug down 1 meter, just 1 meter, just the surface material. And what does it have? That top meter of your garden contains 7,000 kilograms of potassium, some of which is potassium-40, which is radioactive. The actual weight of the potassium-40 itself is 0.8 kilograms. Your garden also contains 6 kilograms of thorium and all the products that flow from the decay of thorium. And it contains 2 kilograms of uranium and all the products that flow from uranium. All those materials are radioactive. And I am going to call that amount of radioactivity a garden unit of radioactivity. And I am anxious that you should remember that that is the radioactivity in the top meter of your garden. That's your nuclear waste. It's the nuclear waste that God put it there. It is the origin of the natural background radiation which is around us at all times. And to remind you of that number, I have shown on the first display board on my left-hand side the material that is there in your garden. And I would like to start by looking at that material a little bit more carefully. Because again, unless we understand that, you will certainly not understand or appreciate the quantities of radioactive waste that are produced by the nuclear industry. This picture shows 7,000 kilograms of potassium in the form of potassium sulfate fertilizer. You can go and buy it in your local supermarket. Because it's in the form of potassium sulfate, the total weight of material displayed there is 16,000 kilograms in all. 7,000 kilograms of potassium and 0.8 kilograms of pure potassium-40. Let us demonstrate that that material which you can go and buy in your supermarket is, in fact, radioactive. We can do that by means of this particle counter which we have brought along today. If I simply switch it on, you should now be able to hear the background counts from the natural radioactivity that is in this room. And the counter is also linked up to the dial display, which shows you very roughly the level of radioactivity in the background of this lecture hall in that particular place. And if I now take a sample of sulfate of potash, it's Arthur Bauer's material actually, but they're all exactly the same. And let us see if we can detect the radioactivity from that. If I just put it there, I think you can hear the noise go up, and you can see the increase on the dial. So in fact, there is a common material you can buy in the supermarket, and it is radioactive. And you may have already guessed that later on I am going to compare that material to some of the nuclear waste produced by the nuclear industry.